Okay, I'm in the good old outdoors of Northwest Indiana. I think today is supposed to be 95, so you might see some sweaty off of me. My wife and I kind of like these days because it's good to sweat. Doesn't the Bible said we're supposed to sweat, work by the sweat of our brow? Yeah, and that's one of the best ways to release the toxins. It's kind of a shower from the inside out. But okay, well, this video is about why you should not be King James only. That might surprise you, and I hope that you don't yell and scream at me in the comments below. I hope that you don't write me off as a heretic and, maybe lost, maybe a racist even. We can throw that one in. And that you write me off. And if you want to hear out the 3 reasons that I want to give you why you shouldn't be a King James only person. But real quickie at the start. Now, I believe there is only one Bible that is pure, and it is the final authority for all matters of faith and practice. But I do believe that pastors, teachers that do not reveal the differences between the pure King James Bible and the other Bibles, I do believe you're sort of kind of shorting your people. I think it'd be a good idea to at least consider these 3 reasons why you should not be a King James only. As I said, I'm in the good outdoors, and sometimes you hear ranchers, especially down in Texas, mention that, they got 1,000, 2,000 head of cattle and all that stuff. But I want to show you what I have here. In this one, since it's so hot, you'll see the bees are outside, not as much as the inside here. So there's their opening, and then there's another opening up here that they're hiding. But I got probably 2,000 head of bee right there. Yeah, 2,000 head of bee. And they got one queenie is it's kind of the boss here. The amazing thing. Her name is Hillary. Yeah, she thinks all of these males are, have been created to serve her. She sort of kind of thinks that the world revolves around her. They're well trained. They're just busy as a bee. But I hate to tell Hillary here that the world doesn't revolve around her, because it doesn't revolve at all. Okay, well, over here we have a second friendly hive. This one, much taller, more kind of like a skyscraper. And again, I got me a little shungite here. This kind of helps them out, and then got all these fine little bees here. Probably 2,000 to 3,000 head of bee there. I don't have to put a fence up. Isn't that wonderful? They're well trained. They stay pretty busy. I don't consider myself a good beekeeper. In fact, probably should be splitting this one. Maybe if a very good beekeeper can throw a comment down there about telling me I should split them, then maybe I should learn doing that. Now the queenie in this one is kind of got bipolar personality, and she'll shift back and forth from Horse Face Harris and Michael. That was the former first pretended lady of somebody in the past. So it goes back and forth. And of course, both of them think the world revolves around them, but I hate to tell them that the world doesn't revolve. But even at that, it's a nice little, colony you have here. Now, what possibly caused me to think about these 3 basic reasons of why you shouldn't be King James only. And please don't be so mean and jump to the gun here. If you want to finish this out, I would encourage you to. But yesterday, I rode my Honda Goldwing up to the Lowell Church, did 3 or 4 radio broadcasts. But on the way up, I stopped at a little resale shop, and it's run by Dutch Reformed. It's the theology is of the Calvinist persuasion, and of course, originally I was born into that. And so when I walked in, the Spirit came upon me, and it's just amazing. I can kind of sense those things once in a while. And I found myself I find myself in front of the Bible section because I know that I wouldn't have chose that of my own accord because I'm totally depraved and unable to make a decision like that. And so this is what I found myself in front of, and I felt my hand reach out and pick it up, and I guess I was unconditionally elected to do that. I just couldn't resist it. And then I also found this other one here, this I don't know if that's serendipity. Well, I don't know Bible, but again, I found myself picking them up because I know my free will. I don't have that, and so thank the Lord, He predestinated this glorious arrangement for me to pick up these two non-King James Bibles because possibly. The first reason why you shouldn't be King James only is getting ready to be revealed to you here. And so, there was a limited supply of Bibles there. They were free, of course that makes a Dutchman like me happy. But there was I don't know if it was limited atonement or what it was, but there was a very limited supply. But I don't know what it was. I just couldn't resist. I don't know if it was foreordained or predestinated, or I'm just not certain. But I elected, possibly as one of the elected. I elected to. No, I didn't elect. I just couldn't resist. My hand just reached out and grabbed that one Bible. The New Adventure Bible, and the other Surrender Pity. I guess that's me. But here I want to give you the first reason why you shouldn't be King James only. Now, it says in the Old Testament, Leviticus 10:10 and around 11:44 in that range, that the Old Testament priests were supposed to reveal the differences between the holy and profane to Israel. That's one of their obligations. I know in that context it would be referring to clean and unclean animals. But then in Ezekiel 44:23, the priest of the millennium, of course, are going to have to do the same, show the difference between holy and profane. In the New Testament, 1 Corinthians 2:15 says, "He that spiritual judgeth all things." So if a pastor has like on his statement of faith, we only use the King James, I do believe that you could better serve your people by revealing the differences between holy and profane. For example, okay, do you see this? Oh, got a little thing in there because I'm in the woods and I'm barefoot here. See that verse 20? Verse 20 and 22? 21 is missing. Yeah, over in this other one, this New Adventure Bible, this is for the youth, you have 18, see that? 18:10 and 18:12. 11 is missing. Wow. That's problematic in my book. Now over here in Matthew 23, see this? You got there in verse 13 and verse 15 and 14 is missing. Now, why did them boogers do that? Now they claim that the best manuscripts don't have those passages in there, so therefore they take them out. In John chapter 5, we'll see it in this one, John 5. Okay, in verse 3. Verse 3, I don't know, hopefully you can see that. And then verse 5. Verse 5. Verse 4 is missing. It's just gone. Now, I used to have a truck stop ministry. And one of the ways, very subtly, where Jesus said, you got to be wise as a serpent, harmless as a dove. I was teaching a story on the Ethiopian eunuch, and I wouldn't say anything about the New Bible. Not a word. I was just as nice as could be about him. And then I would get the eunuch here in verse 36. And then before I read 37, I would say something like, now the next verse is the most important verse of the chapter because it reveals the heart belief of that man. And it would be, I think, rather evil if a Bible took it out purposely And then I read 37, and then they point out 36, and then 38, and 37's gone. And then I would say, oh, it might be a misprint. And so I'd give them, another one that's missing, and they'd say, that one's gone too. And then wow, that's terrible. And I give them another one I know who's missing, and they'd say, well, that one's gone too. And by then they're kind of upset, not with me, but because somebody tricked them. And so I would dare say you would do your people service if you wouldn't remain King James only. And not that I believe these, and not that I read them much. They're easier reading because there's less words in them. For like here in 1 John 5, 6, it says, you got verse 6 there. Verse 7, for there are three that testify. Look at that, for the three testify. And then they don't tell you who they are. They remove the rest of the verse. I wonder if that's why it's easier to read these, because there's less words. And so, yeah, that's something. In fact, these same passages that I've given you are the same that the Jehovah's Witnesses remove. Okay, so the first reason I think it would be a good idea not to be King James only is you point out the errors. You could point out a bald-faced lie. Okay, you can pull a bald-faced lie right within the text. And here's one over here in Mark 1. And it's kind of hard to do this, one-handed, all that stuff. But here we go. Mark 1, as it is written in Isaiah the prophet. Well, looky here. Letter B there. Let's see if I can find it down here. Letter B, looky there. Malachi 3:1. Well, letter B, that verse is in Malachi. That one's in Isaiah. But in this, book, it says they're both in Isaiah. See, I think people should know that. And now, why would they do something like that? Okay, so the first reason why I think you would do people better is show them the differences between the holy and profane. And the second reason I would say that you shouldn't be King James only is you point out the hypocrisy and the double standards of the men and women that produce this book. See now right here, this is Mark 16. See that? Mark 16. And it says here, the most reliable early manuscripts and other ancient witnesses do not have this passage. Whoa, wee, wah, wee, zow. Look at that. Now, why, if those most early reliable ones don't have those, why did they put it in there? I mean, that's why they removed those other ones. They just took them out. But you see, that's double-mindedness. Now, if you go over to John chapter 8 and into verse chapter 7, they got a very similar note. The early and most reliable. Now, they don't tell the names of them because they're deceptive like little snakes. The earliest and most reliable manuscripts and other ancient witnesses do not have John 7:53 to 8:11. So, then why did they not just take it out like they did the other ones? In James 1:8 it says a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. But why did they do something like that? Isn't that something? Now the names, they're not going to tell you the names of those two most reliable men. They're not going to tell you because their names are Vaticanus and Sinaiticus. And I would encourage you, pastors, to tell your people these things. Now, if I'm going to go to Hebrews 9, and what I find really interesting, y'all, those reliable manuscripts stop in Hebrews 9:13. So that's where they stop. But look at these guys, whoever decided, put Hebrews 9:14 all the way to the end. Isn't that something? I find that rather interesting. The John 8 passage is the first time the word conscience is found in the Bible. And in Hebrews 9:14 is one of the greatest promises to purge your conscience from dead works to serve the living Christ. Mental issues, memory issues as far as remembering sins of the past and evil things going through our mind. But these Bibles, they take them out, but the men didn't tell them that it's not there. And not only that, if you go in these Bibles, whoa, what do they got 1 Timothy for? Because those two reliable early manuscripts don't have 1 Timothy. Yes, it doesn't. And it doesn't have 2 Timothy. But these folks decided to put it in the Bible. And Titus, it don't have Titus. Now, why would those most reliable early manuscripts don't have Titus and 1st, 2nd Timothy? I think you can figure it out. Vaticanus, they don't like the idea of an independent pastor. And if we go to Revelation, the last book in the Bible. The last book in this Bible is Index. I didn't see that, sorry. But here we go. Revelation. Did you know that they don't have any notes here in Revelation in regarding the most reliable early manuscripts? Because they put the whole book of Revelation in it, but in those reliable early manuscripts, Revelation is not in there. So, I don't know. I think that's double-mindedness. And in Psalm 12, the great psalm on the preservation of the words, it mentions that the so-called godly have a double tongue. Ooh, double tongue. So reason number one, I do believe, we shouldn't limit our study to the King James only, read only the King James onlyist. No, we should point out the differences between the holy and profane, number one reason. And number two, we should point out the hypocrisy of the people involved producing these things. Now, the third reason might be a little bit surprised, but I found another use for in these cases. These are New International Versions. So I think there's another useful method or another useful idea that can be discovered. And let's see if we can discover it. That might be another use. Now you see, it didn't go through. And so I kind of want to see how far it went. And this was a very useful demonstration. See if we can actually find that 22. Oh boy, I don't know. It's got to be in here somewhere. I thought, man, we can find it somewhere in here. Oop. See how useful that is? You can see how far. Oh, there it is. You can see how far, a shell goes into a book. Now, I don't know about you. I do find a new Bible kind of useful in this matter, but I want to check it out with another type of ammo. That one had a little more high power to it. Let's see if it goes. Oh man, that one went all the way through. Woo, doggy. Now, I don't know about you, but I find that experiment pretty interesting. Ooh, looky there. Yeah. So, sometimes you'll see people say they use the King James. Well, I think I just used a newer Bible for a very useful service. Now you might say, I can't believe you did something like that. That's almost blasphemous. Well, I don't tend to agree with that idea. I tell you what's blasphemous is the revisers of the new Bibles lie. And then they, like Jehudi in Jeremiah 36, took a penknife and cut it out of the text, and then lied to the people. Now, I'm not upset with folks that didn't know this about the newer versions, and I would tend to think that they need to be educated. And the best way to do it is, the best way I've found is when they bring up their Bible, just say, wow, that's great, you got a Bible. There's a couple passages, real blessings to me. Would you mind read them together with me? And give them 2 or 3 that are missing. And hopefully they will begin to wonder. That's the idea. You want them to begin to wonder. You don't want to just make statements without them coming to the conclusion themselves. You want to encourage them to study, to show thyself approved, a workman that needeth not be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth. Of course, these new Bibles don't encourage that. But yeah, that's just 3 easy reasons. And hopefully, if you made it this far, then hopefully you don't make very mean comments down below, saying that I was blasphemous or heretic or lost even, or maybe the world say you're a racist bigot and all that stuff. Well, I just hope you enjoyed it, and I'm so thankful. I am so thankful that God has kept his word without error, and you find it in an authorized King James Bible. Now, this study has caused me to be hungry. In Ecclesiastes 12, it says, much study is a weariness to the flesh, so we need to rejuvenate the flesh with living food and living water. So let me show you what I have here. I don't consider myself a real good gardener, but this is probably the best garden I've ever had. And when you could take something like this, ooh, num 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 num, right off the vine. That tomato plant or tomato went from raw living food in the natural world right in my body. Nom, 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 nom. And these are purple beans. See, look at that, purple beans. I let them go because these beans here was a result of me letting the purple beans go and became seed. I didn't even have to plant them. See that purple bean? Now it turns green when you cook it, but it's good right the way it is. So these are my aronia berries that we already picked the aronia berries off of. And those are gojo berries. The white powder is called diatomaceous earth. It's a natural way of killing the pests that chew on there. But here's my garden so far. We've been harvesting a bunch of that kale. It's starting to kind of get ugly because it's so hot. This is a rejuvenated, this is a second crop of green beans. But see here, one of the secrets here is that copper. We got jalapenos, green peppers. We got a beautiful idea of muskmelon. You can see them coming. See them coming in the muskmelon. Got to figure out when I should pick them. This is going to be another batch of green beans right here. And see, there's that copper. We've had 3 or 4 people in Lowell Church that's done the copper. Goes about a foot down. And all of us are saying the same thing. Best garden we ever had. Best garden. See, when you can eat it right out of the garden, that's the highest ideal. Living food, living water, because that food, that fruit or vegetable, depending on what you want to make the tomato, fruit or vegetable. And in there we got some watermelon coming in here. See? Some right there is a nice one, watermelon. Again, I've never been able to grow good watermelon, good muskmelon, good beets. And there's my asparagus. We might call it aspergas sometimes for fun. Potatoes, never had as good as potatoes. But one thing, it just might be that copper right there. Then there's some beets over there. I am so pleased with my garden this year. But I can get something, a living food right off the plant, right there, living food. Num, 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 num. So that study, you see the cantaloupe, one down there. I am so pleased, and I would encourage you probably next year, give this a try. Copper. It goes down, this one goes all the way down, all the way up. And that one will spread the energy to the local ones. This plant comes all the way up. So, much study is weariness of the flesh, but when you get it raw like this, nom, 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 nom. So hopefully this study was a help and a blessing to you, and that you're not real mean with me about not promoting the idea of King James onlyism. Just to reinforce so you don't lose respect and everything is I only believe one. That's the King James Bible. And oh, by the way, Hebrews 9:14, I need to exercise myself from the unclean spirits of Calvinism that I came under the spell when I walked in that Calvinistic bookstore. So I thank God Hebrews 9:14 is still found in the King James Bible, where the blood of Jesus Christ can purge my conscience from the dead work of Calvinism.